interviewing Miss Maggie, who is the head of diverse growth segment at Citizen Bank.
So, Ms. Maggie, can you tell us a little bit about your position as head of diverse growth segments at Citizens Bank?
So I am part of the wealth organization, and what you would all know as the investment arm of banking. As head of diverse growth segments, I was appointed this role about a year and a half ago, and it's a job that didn't have a job description. It's a role that was undefined, and the objective is to think about those segments that are underserved in wealth and how we identify and build relationships with those underserved segments. By way of background, when you think about banking, the way that we view customer relationships has to do with your balances. How much do you have? And then how much don't you have with me? And how do I talk to you about consolidating those relationships? That's how it's viewed. But I believe there's a different way to look at the business. And my view happens to be on those segments that may be underserved by gender, by ethnicity and race, by orientation. And I took on this role to figure it out and think about how you can build it.
That's amazing.
So my question is, what was your major in college and what inspired you to follow into this path in your job right now?
So my major in college was accounting. And I'll tell you a little story about how that happened. My brother-in-law, actually my sister's boyfriend at the time, was doing accounting. He was in accounting, and I was going to college, really was unsure about what major I wanted to be in. So I majored, I didn't know, but I was good in math. And I decided that accounting would be a good field for me to go in. I graduated college, and at the time I was working at a bank, a branch office as a part-time teller, and I got a job to go work down on Wall Street. And I worked for a mutual fund company, and I was a junior accountant. But what I realized when I went and sat in that job is what I really wanted to do was be back in front of people, because that's what I did when I was in the bank. And I was now behind a desk, and I was talking to no one. And it was a very isolating role, because it was you and the numbers and the information you had to look at. And I realized then that this was not the job that I really wanted, that I could take my degree in accounting and apply it to other positions. I don't have to be majoring in accounting and become an accountant. I could major in accounting and go work for a bank and still have the best of all worlds. And so I shifted back into banking.
It's very interesting. How do you think we can encourage young girls to follow a path in banking and in leadership?
I think sometimes what holds young girls back is the lack of confidence. You were all sharing with me before that the reason why you started uEmpower was that you noticed that there were young girls or girls in your school that were not in engineering courses, even though they had the skills to be. I've learned in my career that confidence is not about how good you feel about yourself. Confidence is moving towards something that scares the heck out of you. And you don't do it once, you do it again and again and again. And your confidence builds when you start to do that. Where I believe young girls lack is that ability to move forward, to move towards something that they know is a little scary. You know, asking for a leadership role is scary. Taking charge of a project, scary. But if you don't do it, how are you going to build your confidence in that? So my wish is that young girls start looking at the things they want to do and move towards it and just try it. Just try to go to that engineering club and sit in and listen. But if you don't go in, how are you going to know whether you like it or not? And then you don't do it just once. You go back a second time and say, okay, maybe I didn't get it the first time. I'm going to do it again. Now, this lesson that I'm sharing with all of you that I've learned, I've had to think about those things. Sometimes it's almost akin to, you know, when somebody says, do the hardest thing first, it's back to that. It's back to the thing that you don't want to do, but you know you have to do. Just go do. Just go do. And that's how you'll build your strength, your muscle, your confidence, and you'll start to move forward.
We noticed that a very like main part of girls not being in like, you know, computer science classes is very much like not stigma, but very much like there is less
Mentorship.
push and mentorship to go against what's comfortable, going for that odd feeling and doing it anyway. Like you said, to just developing that confidence, going for it anyway. We feel is very important.
Sometimes been the only woman in a room, and you could either be intimidated by that and say, I'm just going to sit and listen, or you could take the other approach, which is I'm going to lean into the conversation. And the way that I believe that all women, I just had this conversation with a group of women in wealth a couple of days ago. Sometimes when you go into meetings or you're going into discussions, the best thing you could do to prepare yourself for that discussion is to read up on the subject, to be prepared for the conversation, so that when you do get into that room, you at least know what the heck you're talking about as much as everybody else, right? But sometimes what happens is, and this is a lesson that I'll share with you that I've learned, do not go into that meeting and say, the subject matter expert is this person. They know everything. I don't know anything. So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen and not contribute because I don't have much to contribute. False narrative. If you go into that meeting and you've read the information and you understand what's being discussed, you have every right to ask a question. You have every right to contribute to the conversation. And when you do so, you elevate yourself. You bring yourself up because now you're engaged in conversation and everyone views you as a leader in the discussion. It's when you're quiet, it's when you don't engage that you miss the opportunity to demonstrate who you are. And so speaking up, speaking out, but being prepared for the conversation, really important when you get into the business world.
Leading into our next question, what skills do you feel are necessary to build and work up to this position that you've acquired today?
Look, communication skills are really important. And I will tell you in business, especially post-COVID world, two critical pieces of information, two critical pieces of communication. One is your ability to be able to speak and articulate your points of view on a WebEx call or a Zoom call, just like this. Second is your written skills. Your written communication skills are just as important as your verbal skills, and being able to articulate your point in a clear and concise manner. In this very quick, fast-paced world that we live in, being able to document and capture your voice in a written message or in a verbal message becomes even more important today than it ever did. So communication for me is at the top of the charts.
Yeah, I think communication skills are really important, and it's emphasized in schools, especially through programs like speech and debate, in which I'm a member of. And they talk about it a lot on how we can use it in the business world, in the medical world, in any sort of thing. So yeah, I understand how and why communication is important. Leading into that, I want to ask, so what do you do in a day in the life of the head of diverse growth segments?
I have three key objectives in the job that I have. One, how do I attract and deepen with underserved segments? Number two, how do I recruit and retain those advisors who are going to serve those segments? Because advice is a big part of what the wealth business does around investing. And number three, how do I educate and train the sales force on the values of underserved segments? What I've shared with you is my three pillars. And that I will say to you, when you get into business, being able to articulate what your channels of opportunity are, very simply makes for a better conversation when you're meeting with others about what do you do? What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you hoping to strive towards? So a typical day for me. And I'll start with where I started, and then I'll tell you about my day because I'll pull up my calendar and you'll get a chance to learn about what I'm focused on. So about a year and a half ago, I told you I got a new job. No job description, no clarity around what to do. Data, ladies, is really important. So when you're going to talk about what you want to do, you better have the data to back yourself up. It can't be, I feel, I think, we should. What you have to say is, why? Why is this important? And have the data to back it up. So, knowing I needed data, I approached citizens and said, I want to take 2.2 million checking households that we have, and I want to back it up and understand what the diversity makeup is. I want to understand gender, I want to understand race, and I want to understand income. I want to understand business ownership. And so I collected those data points. What I learned was women versus men, because I double-clicked on wealth management, men had more investment balances than women at the age of 25. Now, why is that? I know sometimes women come out of the business because they're taking care of their families, but at the age of 25, most women and most men are coming out of school, they're getting jobs. Why would women have lower balances than men? And the reason, what I've come to learn, is that women hesitate when making decisions about investing. Men don't. Men jump right in. The male population decide, I'm going to invest and I'm going to give you all my money and I'm willing to take risk and go for it. Women will say, I'm not sure. I'm a little more conservative. I may need the money. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. If you want to be a millionaire and you invest $292 a month at the age of 25, every month out of your paycheck, you will be a millionaire by the time you hit 60. If you wait till 30, instead of 25, to make that same deposit, double that number. Make it $600. It's going to take you that much longer, that much more, to be able to hit that number, because you have to start earlier. So a typical day, so today, what I'm doing is I learned that women is an important part of a gap that we have, and it's our lack of confidence. I'm going back to the beginning when I started with you. You're not confident, you're not going to be able to take risk, and you're not going to be able to invest. So I've got to help women become more confident when it comes to building wealth. So I developed all my data and I built a business case. By the end of this decade, over $30 trillion in wealth is going to transfer to women. Women, their daughters, their children, assets are going to move because there's an aging baby boomer generation. 46% of women say they lack the confidence to make decisions about investing. Yet 85% of purchasing decisions in this country are made by women. Holy cow, we're buying things, but we can't figure out how to do investing. What the heck? So I went to Citizens and I said, I want to do more research. And here's why. And I gave them the business case. They gave me $50,000. I took that $50,000 and I went to my digital team and I said, I have money and I want to be able to learn more about this segment and what we could do. They partnered me up with a fintech. So on April 4th, in about 2 weeks, I'm launching an app. I'm launching an app to help women become more confident when it comes to investing. Hooray.
That's amazing.
Hooray. And I would love to share the app with all of you.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
women told me in focus groups, they know they're supposed to do something, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. They know they should, and they're doing some things, but they don't even know if they're doing it right. The other thing they said is, I want to have community. I want to be with like-minded people. So remember when you said when young girls are not going into the engineering because there's no boys there. What they would say is, if there were more girls in the engineering group, they would go. Well, how do I bring more women together into a community? And the third thing is, how do I make it easy for them to get advice? So all day today, I've been on conference calls about marketing, social media campaign, the letter that I'm going to be sending to customers, inviting them to try the app, a presentation I'm making next week, announcing it to the wealth business about what I'm working on. So a typical day for me has been all around those aspects of taking the work that I'm doing and being able to expand it over the next several weeks. So the pilot that I'm running will run from April 4th through the end of June. And a typical day for me is meeting with my business partners, reading up on working with my risk partners, operations partners, legal I was on the phone with today. All those partners are part of my Back to Communication group that I've been working with.
Yeah, and I think that kind of relates to me because during COVID, I saw a lot of stuff on my YouTube recommended about like investing and all of that. So I just like watched a few videos and then I got interested in the stock market and just learning about it because I also had to write a debate case on it. So most of the videos that I watched, they were like male entrepreneurs and those in the investing world. And so I was really interested in seeing females who are in it, but there was less and less. And when I researched why, it was because of the lack of confidence. So I saw that and I just made the connection.
Yeah, no, even in the business that I'm in, 85% of all advisors in this country today are men. Only 15% are women. So that tells you that tells you why you see what you see on the screen. And what women have said is, you're going to send me to somebody or refer me to somebody, but they're not like me. Can I speak to a woman? Can I speak to somebody who understands me and my family situation? As opposed to somebody who's going to talk above my head and make me feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm introducing into the app. So the app is going to have 10 financial advisors, 5 women, 5 men, 3 languages, years of experience, 1.5 to 28 years. And you get to pick and choose who you want to be able to work with. It's going to be client choice versus me telling them who they need to go see.
That's amazing.
So what and from inspirational women do you have? Like, do you have any mentors or women that you look up to?
So there was someone in our business that was the former CEO of Citizens that I had when I worked at Citi. So I worked at Citibank for many years, and this individual used to work at Citi. She was assigned to me as a mentor, and that carried over when she came over to Citizens. She has since retired, but I will tell you the lessons I learned from her have been invaluable. So, yeah, I think there are lots of women in our organization today who I look up to. In fact, one today I sent an email to and said, here's what I'm going to be sending out to communicate. I know you're very interested. Tell me if I'm hitting the right tone. She sent me back a note and said, change it to this, Maggie. It'll come off better. And I went, oh my God, so much better, so much better. And so there are people that you build relationships with that you should reach out to. And mentoring is not about somebody agreeing to be your mentor. Mentor is when you meet somebody you really like and you say, boy, I could see myself talking to them. I could see myself asking them questions, and they're going to tell me like it is. And I feel a connection. That's when you reach out and say, I'd like to continue the conversation, not the, will you be my mentor, please? It's not that. It's all about, I'd like to continue the conversation. I'd like to learn more about what you do. That's how you establish mentoring. But I've got lots of those, as I call my friends and family group of women out there, and we all try to support each other.
So our next question is, what challenges have you faced or know for women in your industry? And what advice do you have for women facing these challenges?
I have seen women who are in the workplace work really, really hard. I think that's what women do. We're hard workers. We like to do our very best. We like to contribute. Where I think women lack is they don't ask for what they want. I want to learn more about this. I want that job. I want to grow into this role. I think where women are challenged is they believe if you just keep your head down and you work really hard, somebody will recognize you and give you the next opportunity. It doesn't work like that. You have to ask for it. And I think more women understand that they have to speak up and be advocates for themselves about what they're trying to accomplish and what they'd like to be able to achieve in their career. And the more they do that, the more opportunities will open up. It's when you don't ask for it and it doesn't happen that you're disappointed. Well, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. And so I think that is the one challenge that I would tell women, all women, to ask for and be a promoter of themselves so that they could continue to grow and develop in their career.
And I think I've heard that in many different places, just like asking for what you want, because if you don't ask, you're never going to know, you're never going to be able to see the possibilities that you could achieve. And our last question for you is, do you have any other advice, just general advice that you would like to share with young girls in our community?
I would tell you that being involved and getting involved in lots of different activities will help you understand where you want to ultimately land. Don't limit yourself. Consider all options, consider all opportunities, and go find out a little bit more about what you don't know. Because a career, a job, a journey in school is all about learning new things and exploring new things and finding new channels where you could learn more about yourself and be able to know where you want to be heading to. So don't limit yourself. Find all opportunities to learn and grow. And take every opportunity while you're at school to join every group, every club that may exist. So
Thank you. That makes sense. Just join everything we possibly can to get more of an output and see what we can put our feet in the water to see what we can do.
And that definitely being open to many different activities instead of limiting and saying, oh, I can only do this, because if you don't try everything, you'll never know what you can do. We thank you so much for doing this interview with us. We learned so much speaking to you and learning about your work and your contribution to women empowerment, and we can't wait to see the app also. We're definitely gonna
Yeah,
keep our eyes open for that. I think that's amazing, the app that you've
it's unbelievable. And I will tell you, I pinch myself because I think I'm helping a lot of women, right? This is a segment that I believe in, that if I can help them get started sooner, how much better off they're going to be for themselves and their families. And the fact that I get to do this and I get to test it and learn and try is really, really terrific. And then I get to share it with all of you, right? And you give me feedback and you tell me what you think. And so that's going to be a fast follower. But I applaud all three of you for the work that you're doing. I applaud you for moving forward and addressing a need and an issue that you saw. And I think you're all fantastic and terrific young ladies. And I can't wait to see and hear more about your uEmpower organization and what else you all do.